You're listening to the Reds Podcast.
This is episode number 39. This is part one of a two-part series on how to dominate social media. If you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on Pinterest, or any other social media network, you will want to listen here. We're going to tell you how to get more followers, get more interaction, and get more business. That's on this episode of the Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
Laurel, we've talked on the show before. It happens several times per week because of the neighborhood we live in. We're in an urban area. People knocking on our door all the time with all sorts of offers, from wanting to mow our lawn, they want money, they want to sell us something, and we had a classic door-to-door solicitor drop by a couple of days ago.
Yeah, well, the last time I was here and one happened, we were recording, and I actually hid under my desk because I'm in the front of the house and they would have been able to see me through the blinds, and we were in the middle of recording. So I just pushed mute and went under my desk until they went away.
It's crazy because I've lived in this neighborhood for several years, but we've just been on this street in this house for about 1 year. And I'd say not a week goes by when we don't have somebody knocking on our door wanting to mow the lawn, wanting to pull weeds, wanting to get money for some kind of cause, wanting to sell us something.
Wanting to get the spiders off the front porch.
Yeah, the exterminator guy.
Yeah, there are a lot of people coming by, and they're always coming by when we're recording.
Always.
And I know we're not recording all the time, so
No.
I think it's just a Murphy's Law thing.
Well, somebody did drop by, and we weren't recording. I was on the phone, heard the dog go crazy, went to answer the door, and it's a classic door-to-door person. The Jehovah's Witnesses dropped by.
Ah, yes, I was not here for that.
She hands me a copy of the Watchtower magazine. I said, thank you. I'm not interested in converting. She says, I just want to talk to you about the Bible. Okay. I mean, what do you say? These guys are really, really good. And she says, can I drop by later and discuss it with you? And here I am thinking in my head. I'm thinking, this woman knows something that I don't know, because nobody wants to see her coming. These guys there were probably 10 of them, all up and down the street, knocking on doors. They have more rejection than anybody. And I think if she comes by, she said she would, I'm going to bring her in and I'm going to ask her how she deals with rejection, because she has brass balls. How did you get those brass balls?
So you told her she could come back and tell you about the Bible?
Well, I didn't say that she couldn't come back. I said, yeah, if you want to. I mean, she had a little kid with her. What was I supposed to do?
No. No, you can't come back, woman and child.
Well, if she comes back, I'm going to bring her in. I'm going to ask her how she just is made of Teflon, because she just didn't seem to know that nobody was wanting her in the neighborhood.
I think once you get used to that rejection, were you telling me something about some rejection course?
Yeah, there's something called rejection therapy, and guys will actually do it, and there are videos of it online where they will go around asking people for things that they know they will get rejected on. And sometimes people say yes.
Do you have an example of something besides the Jehovah's Witness that was in this rejection therapy thing?
Well, an example of that would be people will go in, they'll ask for a discount. I see it a lot in what they call the pickup community, the guys that are selling like dating advice. That's been very popular with them. They're trying to get to the point to where they can walk up to a beautiful woman, ask her out, and not care when she says no. So people will ask for discounts. People will ask for all sorts of things, extras. Hey, can I borrow your car? To somebody that they don't even know. And the point is to get rejected. So that's on an upcoming episode of Red Podcast, the Jehovah's Witnesses and lessons on how they deal with rejection. But today, Laurel, we're going to talk about how to dominate social media. We've got a lot of things here to cover, and this is actually a two-part episode. First of all, let's talk about what is RED before we get too deep into it. What is RED? It stands for Real Entrepreneur Development.
It's for people that want to spread a message. So if you have a business out there where you're trying to spread a message, whether you're a coach, a consultant, a speaker, a blogger, a podcaster, if you're trying to get your message out there and make a six-figure income while doing it, this is the show for you.
This is about how to grow your audience, how to get more people to your events, how to get more people paying attention to you, and how to make more money. It's where the 4-hour work week really exists. And today, the topic, how to dominate social media. Let's get to the very first one.
All right. I think for social media, and what we want to do here is just talk about any platform. I mean, these are tools that you can use on any and every social media platform. So I'm going to say they're general, but they're just general in that they work on any platform. And the first one is speak to an individual. This is a big one. This is something that you want to do in your email newsletters and in your marketing, but especially on social media. Speak to one person.
Speak to one person, and let's dive deep into this. A lot of times you will see bloggers, podcasters, and they will say, hello out there in podcasting land. Hello out there in blogging land.
Or hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not the way to do it. It needs to be hello. Just like you're talking to somebody on a personal basis, just like they're right in front of your face. We say on this podcast, you, if you notice that. And sometimes it gets a little bit tricky because I'm talking to Laurel. It's a co-hosted podcast. But if you go to my blog at bigboldimpact.com, you will see the word you. I'm talking to one person a lot. It's not hello out there in blogging land. I don't refer to people listening as my audience. I refer to them as you, one person.
And that's really important because when someone is consuming your message, whether it's a podcast, whether it's an email newsletter, whether it's on any social media platform, they are one person consuming it. They're not everyone. They're not an audience. They are just one individual. And they want to be spoken to like they're one individual. And that's going to help someone connect with you more and really start to trust you and being invested in you and what you have to say if they feel like you're just speaking to them.
Right. It's not that nameless, faceless crowd of hello out there in podcasting land. What?
Yeah. That makes absolutely
Where is
no
that
sense.
landing? No, absolutely not. It's you.
What helps me is to always write to my avatar. So I have an avatar for who I work with and who I'm speaking with. And it just helps me to envision them when I'm writing something because it's so hard because you're just writing in the computer and you don't know who you're speaking with or who it's going to. So to visualize the person you are writing to, it's going to help you craft your message a little bit better. It's going to help you figure out what to say, how to say it, and also keep it really personal and individualized.
I've seen people go so far as to have a photo or some kind of icon that represents one person on their desk, just as a reminder that you're speaking to one person.
Does your avatar have a name, David?
No.
I like to call my avatar Sally. I have no idea. That sounds like an older name, and my avatar is a younger person, but still, I always write my newsletters, Dear Sally, and then I take out the Sally.
Right.
So.
Well, on our newsletters, on the Red newsletter, which, by the way, if you go to redpodcast.com, if you want to see this in action, they are always written to the individual, and because we get your name, we can put hello name and be very, very specific about that. If you're using one of the major mailing list providers, they can do a merge like that where you actually are talking to one person. It's not just you, it's that person's name. That's number one. Speak to an individual. Very, very important. Number two, equally as important in the very fast-paced world of social media, and that's keep it short. I think that's the great thing about Twitter is that you've only got 140 characters. Unfortunately, you don't have those limitations on things like Facebook, something like a blog, Pinterest, some of these other social media platforms. And man, people will just go forever when you give them that kind of space. I like to consider myself on Twitter even when I'm using those other networks.
Well, I'll go on Facebook and I'll see people treating their status update like a blog post. And it just goes on and on and on. It's like a wall of text. I am not going to read that. No one's going to read that unless they're really dedicated to you or it's your mother or your partner or something like that. Keeping it short is really critical. If you have to say something that's a little longer on a platform such as Facebook, where you can break it up into short little sentences with spaces in between. No one wants to read your wall of text.
Right. As I say, don't tell me about the labor pains, just give me the baby.
Exactly. I think that's just really important because people do have a short attention span and they want to consume things from you. They like your content, but they have a limited amount of time and a limited attention span. And you just want to make sure that you play to that. And if they want more information, reroute them to a blog post or reroute them to your newsletter or something like that where they can get more information. But when you're on social media, just keep it short.
Brevity is huge. It's something you should probably use in your communication outside of social media. We certainly try to do that here on Red Podcast. Every episode, 25 minutes or so. And we could certainly go on about these topics for a lot longer than that. But we understand you're busy. You don't want us to go on. You want us to give you the baby, not the labor pain. So number 2, keep it short. Number 3, Laurel.
Number 3 is mix it up. I say add elements of interest to your social media platform. So that could be photos, video, interesting text, things like that.
Don't do the same thing every time. A lot of people, they are good at text. They're good at copywriting, so that's their wheelhouse. That's where they're going to stay. But it's always good to change things up, especially with a Facebook timeline. If you can integrate something like Instagram, if you can integrate those Vine videos, those little short videos, that keeps things interesting. It needs to be on point. It needs to be about what you're talking about, what your topic is. But changing it up gives a different perspective for people. People like to consume different types of information.
Absolutely. As you said, David, different people want different types of content and they absorb and consume content in different ways. And you might find that your specific audience, you start putting photos and videos and text out there, you might find that your specific audience likes one or the other, and you might end up playing just one of those. But until you know that, try to mix it up and keep it interesting.
That's something, and this is going to sound really, really bad, Laurel, but in dog training, that's something that they do with dogs. They have to mix things up to keep the dog interested. And humans, when it comes to our attention span, thanks to iPhones and iPads and iPods, and because of social media, we have a diminishing attention span. Every week it's getting shorter and shorter. So if you can mix things up, it keeps things interesting, just like it would for a dog. It will do the same thing for your audience. Mix things up, and they're going to pay more attention to you.
So treat your audience like dogs. That's
well said.
Takeaway for today.
Number 4, be human. So many times you see automation in social media. There are robots, and we use some of those. When we post a new podcast, it automatically goes to Twitter, it goes to Facebook, but that's not the only time we use those things. We are real people, and we are behind our social media accounts. We're not just broadcasting. We're there to answer questions. We're there to sometimes mess things up, put our foot in our mouths. That's number 4, be human, and that's something that don't be afraid to do. 1, put your foot in your mouth, but also get out there and man your account. There's a great story that I put in my last book. It is about NRA, National Rifle Association. And these guys had everything on automation. If you remember, a couple of years ago, there was a movie theater shooting. A guy dressed up like one of the characters from Batman walks into a movie theater and just unloads on everybody. NRA wasn't on top of things when it came to social media. Everybody was outraged at him. Next morning, good morning, shooters. What are your plans this weekend? It's like, whoa. It agitated. People were looking for a problem to have with NRA, and that did it. Made them look really, really stupid. And there are several examples of that. when there's a natural disaster. You don't want to get too far ahead when it comes to programming social media. Certainly, as I mentioned, we do that here on Red Podcast when it comes to letting people know that we've updated a blog, but we don't buffer any kind of information on